You are standing at a checkpoint in northern Tehran. 2 a.m. The street is empty. A rifle in your hands, a radio on your belt, an order you did not question. 3 weeks ago, American jets turned a building 4 kilometers north of here into rubble. The commander who worked there, gone. 40 years of rank, erased in 6 seconds. You don't know his name. You were never told his name. That's not how this works. The organization you belong to has 125,000 soldiers, a business empire worth more than the GDP of most countries, proxy armies operating in 6 nations right now, a ballistic missile aimed at a US base tonight. It also just started recruiting 12-year-olds to staff checkpoints like this one. You have been part of this machine for 11 years. You have climbed every level of it. You know what it costs to reach the top. You know what the top actually looks like when you finally get there. Here is your life, all of it, every rank. Level 1, the Basij Volunteer. You don't start at the top. Nobody does. You start in a mosque. There is no application to the IRGC. Not directly, not at first. You walk into your local mosque. There are Basij recruitment offices in virtually every mosque and neighborhood in Iran, and you fill out a form, your name, your age, whether your father served. Nobody checks your qualifications. They check your faith, your loyalty to the revolution, your willingness to protect what Khomeini built in 1979. You're 18, maybe younger. The minimum age was lowered to 12 this week. The pitch is simple. You will be defending the Islamic Republic. You will protect the revolution that America has spent 45 years trying to destroy. Through assassinations, through proxy wars and regime change operations, and every tool a superpower has when it wants a government to collapse. What they don't tell you, the Basij has been used to crush protests. Women demonstrating after Mahsa Amini's death in police custody in 2022. Students, factory workers. At least 6,373 people killed in the 2025 and 2026 unrest alone, most of them protesters. Some of them killed by Basij members holding the same rifle you are holding right now. The training is 45 days. Ideological indoctrination runs alongside every physical drill from day one. They teach you that dying for the revolution is not a sacrifice, it is a privilege. You will become a martyr. The regime will honor you. Your family will be cared for. You learn to use a rifle, checkpoint procedures, which questions are never asked. The perks are real. 40% of Iranian university spots are reserved for Basij members, government jobs, priority hiring in a country where the economy has been under sanctions for 4 decades and youth unemployment runs above 25%. You give the regime your obedience. The regime gives you a step up in a system that has very few other steps available. 3 days ago, an 11-year-old boy named Alireza Jafari was killed at a checkpoint outside Tehran. His father brought him because there was a personnel shortage. State media confirmed his death. The Basij Teachers Organization issued a statement. He was on duty. His mother told the Hamshari newspaper her husband had no choice. You are standing where he stood. Level 2, IRGC Ground Forces Conscript. The IRGC does not draft, it recruits from the loyal. If you showed commitment in the Basij, you get noticed. An officer approaches you. The question is never, do you want to join? It is framed as an opportunity, an honor. You report to a provincial command, 32 of them spread across Iran, each one functioning as a parallel government in its region, running security, running local contracts, running the economy of its territory. Every province in Iran has one. They report not to the local governor, but directly to the IRGC commander-in-chief. The training is heavier now. Small unit tactics, urban combat drills, weapons proficiency across a wider range of platforms. But the ideological component never stops. It runs alongside every physical training day without exception. You are not trained to be a soldier first. You are trained to be a guardian of the revolution first. The weapon comes second. Your first real assignment is not a battlefield. It is a city street during unrest. The IRGC ground forces are designed for internal disorder first and expeditionary warfare second. You are the regime's insurance policy. When the regular police cannot hold a protest, when crowds are too large, when the political cost of using the police becomes too visible, you hold it. You are the line that does not appear on camera if the regime can help it. Here is the thing nobody explains in training. You have a chain of command that runs to the supreme leader, not the president, not the parliament. The elected government of Iran can pass any law they want. You don't enforce their laws. You enforce the revolution. The IRGC's constitutional mandate is not to protect the country. It is to protect the Islamic Republic, which is a different thing. Khamenei is dead now. In the US-Israeli strike on February 28, 2026, the man who replaced him is his own son, Mujtaba, selected by the Assembly of Experts in early March. The transition the guards backed completely. The son they cultivated. The succession they made possible. The corruption surfaces slowly. Leaked IRGC internal meeting minutes emerged last year. Commanders delivering formal complaints directly to the supreme leader. One noted that a superior son wore a watch worth 4 years of an average soldier's salary. Another said senior officials were so disconnected from ordinary life that he doubted whether anyone in the room could name the current market price of chicken. You make the equivalent of $400 a month. The general above you owns construction companies. Level 3, IRGC Officer. To become an IRGC officer, you go through Imam Hussein University, the IRGC's own military academy in Tehran. Not a regular university, not the regular military's institution, theirs. Political reliability is screened more thoroughly than tactical ability. Your family background is investigated going back a generation. Your social media history, the mosque you attend, the clerics you follow, the views you've expressed, publicly and in private, for the last decade. Military competence is necessary. It is never sufficient. Loyalty is always the first criterion. As an officer, you exist in two parallel worlds. The first, a military commander. You train soldiers, run operations, manage regional security. You lead men. The second, an economic player. The IRGC controls over 100 companies. Its engineering and construction arm, Khatam al-Anbiya, operates through more than 800 front companies with civilian names and civilian registrations. A single contract for oil and gas field development was worth $22 billion, 4 times the entire official IRGC public budget. At the officer level, you begin getting exposure to this world. The contracts, the government tenders awarded without competition, the subsidiaries registered under relatives' names. You begin to understand that being an IRGC officer is not a military career. It is a business career with military authority. For many officers at this level, the first operational posting outside Iran is Syria. IRGC ground forces have been deployed there since the civil war's early years, training Assad-aligned forces, advising militia commanders, running logistics for Iranian proxy units operating on the ground. Or it is Yemen. You are not fighting, you are advising Houthi commanders on ballistic missile targeting. The missiles they fire at Saudi Arabia and at Israel were your homework assignment. The guidance systems, the trajectories, the target selection, your expertise transferred through channels that officially do not exist. You are in a foreign country that officially has no Iranian military presence. If you are captured and interrogated, your government will deny you exist. The diplomatic cover stops at the embassy. You are beyond that cover. At every promotion, there is an ideological review, an interview with a political officer embedded in your unit. He does not report to your chain of command. He reports directly to the Supreme Leader's office through the system of representative offices the Supreme Leader maintains inside every IRGC unit in Iran. He can end your career with a single report. He can also make your career with one. Your family is starting to ask questions you cannot answer. Where were you deployed? Why can't you say? What do you actually do? The cover story is vague. Advisory teams, training missions, work that cannot be discussed. Your wife has seen the funerals on the news. She knows it's more than that.
She stopped asking 6 months ago. You notice she has stopped asking. You don't know whether to be grateful or ashamed. Level 4, IRGC Intelligence Officer. The IRGC runs its own intelligence organization, completely separate from the Ministry of Intelligence and Security, which is Iran's civilian spy agency. The IRGC Intelligence Organization monitors Iranian citizens, dissidents abroad, foreign intelligence operatives working inside Iran, and rival factions within the regime itself. It is the regime watching itself. You are now one of the watchers. Inside Iran, you run surveillance networks, artists, journalists, academics, labor organizers, anyone the regime classifies as potentially destabilizing. If someone receives a call from a foreign number, you know about it. If a professor corresponds with a foreign journalist, you know about it. If a factory worker attends 3 union meetings in a row, you know about it. Outside Iran, you run operations in Europe, IRGC cells in Germany, France, the United Kingdom, fundraising networks, intelligence collection, surveillance of diaspora dissidents, and, when authorized, more direct interventions. As of this week, European intelligence agencies have issued their highest IRGC-related security alerts in years following the start of the war. In the United States, the Quds Force has gone further. The 2011 assassination plot against the Saudi ambassador in Washington used a Mexican drug cartel as the operational arm. The target was a restaurant in Georgetown. The device would have killed people who had nothing to do with any of this: diners, staff, passers-by. The plot was disrupted. Most plots are not discussed publicly. You also have authorization to attack civilian infrastructure, power grids, financial networks, hospital systems. Iranian AI-enhanced cyber tools are being used right now to target American and Israeli infrastructure as part of the ongoing war. The Basij Cyber Council, volunteer hackers operating under IRGC specialist supervision, functions as a cheap, deniable strike force. The target list is not limited to military assets. It never has been. Then there is the file. You receive a name one Tuesday afternoon, a professor at the University of Tehran. She has been corresponding with journalists outside the country, writing about water shortages in her province, about a lake that has shrunk by 80%, about families whose agricultural land is unusable now. A small thing, unimportant to anyone who matters. You open a flag on her file. You don't think about it for more than a few minutes. 3 weeks later, a colleague mentions she was arrested. You don't ask what happened next. You stop asking what happens next. That is when you know the work has taken something from you that you are not going to get back. A European intelligence service gets close to one of your overseas cells. Germany, a fundraising network connected to Hezbollah, donations routed through a network of small businesses and charitable organizations whose auditors don't look closely enough. You abort 2 months of operational work in 48 hours. Safe houses cleared, operatives rotated out, new identities, new city, new cover stories built from scratch. You file a report. The operation continues under a different name in a different location. It always continues. Level 5, Quds Force Operative. The Quds Force does not take applications. It selects you. Nobody publishes the exact numbers. Estimates range from 5,000 to 20,000 operatives. Out of 125,000 IRGC personnel, you are the fraction of the fraction. They want language skills, Arabic, Farsi dialects, English, whatever the target region requires, ideological reliability, the ability to operate in foreign environments for months without breaking cover, without making contact with the Iranian government through any traceable channel, without doing anything that marks you as what you are. The same selection criteria every elite intelligence service in the world uses, except you're on the other side of the target list. Here is what the Quds Force actually controls. Hezbollah in Lebanon, armed, trained, funded, and directed for 40 decades. During the 2006 war with Israel, Hezbollah fired more than 4,000 rockets into northern Israel. The Quds Force supplied every one of them, along with the training to operate them, the logistics infrastructure to move them, and the command structure to deploy them. Hamas, the October 7, 2023 attack on Israel, was enabled by years of Quds Force military training and financial support. The planning, the weapons, the operational capacity, built over years through Iranian channels. The Houthis in Yemen. In 2011, they could barely fire a Katyusha unguided rocket 15 kilometers. By 2015, they were launching ballistic missiles at Riyadh at ranges of more than 1,000 kilometers. By 2024, they were striking Israeli territory. That transformation from a local militia to a force capable of sustained ballistic missile attacks across a 1,000-kilometer range is the Quds Force's work. Weapons, training, technical expertise, transferred over years through channels in Iraq and Oman and wherever the route was open. Iraqi Shia militias, Kataib Hezbollah, you have trained commanders who then trained men who killed American soldiers with IEDs and rockets and drones. The chain from Tehran to the explosion is long enough that the attribution is always deniable. That's the point. That has always been the point. You operate undercover in foreign countries, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and further when the mission demands. You work with local commanders who believe they are making autonomous decisions. The cutout is deliberate. If they are captured and interrogated, they cannot give you up because they don't know what you are. They know a name, a contact, a phone number that will be dead within 48 hours of any compromise. The Quds Force statement issued after the U.S.-Israeli strikes was broadcast on Iranian state television. The enemy should know that their happy days are over and they will no longer be safe anywhere in the world, not even in their own homes. That was not a press release. That was a mission brief. You are in Beirut when an Israeli airstrike kills a Hezbollah commander you have worked alongside for 3 years. You knew his name. You had eaten dinner in his home 4 times. His son used to kick a football in the courtyard outside while you and his father spread maps across the table in the back room and talked about operations neither of you would ever confirm to anyone. You write a report, code name only. He is listed as promoted to martyrdom. You fly back to Tehran the next morning. You have a meeting at 9 a.m. In April 2024, an Israeli airstrike destroyed the IRGC Quds Force Syria-Lebanon commander, Mohammad Reza Zadehi, killed inside it, along with 7 other officers. You were scheduled to be in that building. Your meeting was moved 6 hours earlier. No explanation was given. You were never told why. Your replacement is already running the Syria-Lebanon operational network. The work did not pause for a day. Level 6, IRGC Senior Commander. At this level, you are not in the field. You are in meetings, intelligence briefings at 6 a.m., budget reviews, negotiations with militia commanders who believe they are autonomous but take direction from you through channels they don't fully understand. You sit across from diplomats who publicly designate your organization a terrorist group. 14 countries have done so. The European Union added its designation in January 2026, and who privately ask you to manage the region's instability. The contradictions don't bother you anymore. Reuters described the IRGC as a state within a state this year. They are not wrong. The economic dimension is impossible to ignore at this level. The IRGC controls somewhere between 10% and 50% of Iran's entire economy. Estimates vary because the structure is built to be opaque. $12 billion in annual business and construction revenue from the publicly traceable operations alone. Khatam Al-Anbiya holds $22 billion in oil and gas field development contracts, a figure 4 times the entire official IRGC budget. Smuggling operations in alcohol, narcotics, and weapons, generating profit margins of 200 to 300%. Front companies in the UAE, in Hong Kong, in jurisdictions that ask few questions. Cryptocurrency channels, shadow banking networks that U.S. Treasury has been tracking for years and has never fully dismantled. At your rank, you have ownership stakes in this empire. Companies registered in your wife's name, import licenses that move goods through Iranian ports under your protection, access to hard currency that most Iranians have never held in their hands. The ordinary IRGC soldier makes $400 a month. You live in a compound in North Tehran.
You live in a compound in northern Tehran worth $2 million. You have authorized operations that killed civilians. You have signed off on interrogation programs in facilities that do not appear on any official register. You have sent men to die in countries that don't know they were there, whose governments will issue formal protests and then quietly accept the outcome because the alternative is worse. You tell yourself the revolution requires this. America spent 45 years trying to strangle Iran. Every decision has been in defense of something real and something worth defending. Some nights you believe it. Some nights you walk the perimeter of your compound at 3 a.m. and check the locks on doors that have never been tried. Old habits. You don't know whose habits they are anymore. The US and Israeli strikes killed your commander-in-chief and senior officers you served alongside for 20 years. The command structure has decentralized as a deliberate resilience strategy. 31 regional commanders now operate with significant operational autonomy. This is strength. It is also a system that can be triggered by a mid-level officer making a decision that nobody in Tehran reviewed in time. Iran fired on Turkey, a NATO member, because of an autonomous commander's call. The machine that nobody can fully control is now yours to manage.
Level 7, IRGC Commander, the Ghost.
There has been exactly one IRGC commander with the full rank of Sardar, the highest military rank in Iran in modern history. Hossein Salami held it from April 2019 until June 13, 2025, when Israeli strikes killed him and numerous senior officers in a single coordinated wave of attacks. The man who succeeded him, Ahmad Wahidi, is now present at every high-level wartime decision in Tehran. At this level, you do not command soldiers, you command a government. You command an economy worth tens of billions of dollars. You command the future of a regime that has survived every foreign-funded prediction of its imminent collapse for 45 years. You sit in the room where the decision was made to close the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil supply shut down. Oil prices above $110 a barrel. Economies on every continent absorbing the shock. You sit in the room where the decision was made to fire on US bases across the region, to activate Hezbollah from Lebanon, to deploy the full axis of resistance, 140,000 partner fighters across 6 countries as a coordinated pressure campaign against American and Israeli forces simultaneously. You know which American officials the Quds Force has built files on. You know which operations were running on US soil when the war started. You know what is still running. You know things that will never be written down, that will never appear in any intelligence assessment, that will never be declassified. And then, in a quiet moment that doesn't come often, you do the accounting. You started in a mosque 40 years ago, a form on a table. A young man who believed completely in the revolution his parents told had saved Iran from the Shah and from a century of foreign exploitation. The revolution is still here. So are you. But what did you actually build? The country you gave your life to protect is recruiting 12-year-olds to staff the checkpoints because it has run out of adults willing to stand there. The people the revolution claimed to represent have been in the streets for 3 years. 6,000 of them are dead, killed by the force you helped construct and lead. The economy the revolution promised to distribute to the poor is controlled, up to half of it, by the organizations sitting at this table. You are the most powerful man in Iran. You cannot say this out loud. Somewhere in Tehran tonight, a boy is standing at a checkpoint with a rifle he barely knows how to hold. He's 14,
maybe 12. He believes in the revolution the way you believed in it once, the way you believed in it before you learned what the top floor looked like, before you understood the business empires and the compounds in North Tehran, and the 31 independent commanders with the authority to start a war with Turkey because there is no one left above them who reviews the order in time. He just knows he's defending something real. You used to know that feeling. The organization he belongs to has been designated a terrorist group by 14 countries. It controls a ballistic missile program aimed at American soldiers. It commands proxy armies in Lebanon, Palestine, Yemen, Syria, and Iraq. It has operations active inside the United States. It is the central force in the most consequential military conflict happening on Earth right now. And it started in a mosque with a boy who believed. The radio crackles. You answer.